Peace. Welcome to day one, episode one of the 99 attributes of Allah our God. We're going to discuss the first one and how to apply it in our lives. First, me being a man. So the first attribute or name of Allah is Ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahman is the all-compassionate. So first, before we have any semblance of how to apply, we have to understand, right? Comprehension is first and foremost. So I had to look up what compassion actually means. We use it all the time, but we don't actually, I don't actually know what compassion means. It says sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. And it seems a little maybe self-explanatory to be compassionate for others in theory. But in application, I know for me, myself, I may not always show compassion for others. If I see somebody suffering, in the family, because I don't because I don't have my family suffering on one aspect, financially, I'm not having them suffer. They're not starving. They're not suffering in that aspect. But if there be, maybe emotional lacking that they're suffering in, I'm not always compassionate in that area to make sure I alleviate or make that suffering less. And so as a man, the leader of my family, a husband, or even a human being, to learn from this attribute of God, the all-compassionate, is to be able to understand compassion and use it on a daily basis in all aspects. To realize that suffering is not just one thing. There's a physical suffering, emotional suffering, a mental suffering. A lot of people are not really ready, willing, and able to speak on mental health. And that's one of the worst forms of suffering. According to statistics like documentation, that's one of the worst suffering documented because you can't see it. Somebody's arm is hurting. You know exactly where that pain is coming from, so you can take care of it. But when it comes to mental health, you can't see it. So it's a pain that you can't see, and not everybody knows the cause. And so if you don't always know the cause and you can't see it, then it's a little bit more difficult to be compassionate towards it when other people are suffering in that manner. Especially in the society where we don't really support mental health as much as we should. We kind of shrug it off. In the society whether it be, people suffering from PTSD in the military. And then we have people living in poverty where it's no longer PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, but it's current traumatic stress disorder. They're living it on a daily basis, and we're not compassionate to that extent. And so without getting too out of hand and looking so far out of our control, because as the head of the family, a man, I don't focus on too many things that are out of my control, because the things that are in my control are so important. They come first and foremost in priority. So when it comes to my family's mental health, when it comes to my mental health, and when it comes to your mental health, these are things that we can show compassion towards and do contrary to what society now is promoting. If they're not focused on mental health, but God is talking about, my attribute is being all compassionate, then I prefer to look at God and be like, okay, well, if you're all compassionate, then maybe I should learn about that too. Okay, so this is the first episode one. Let me know your thoughts. Peace.